Good morning, Delhi. How you doing? Thank you for joining me on the show. And of course, it is 9 o'clock, and we're doing something exclusive over here on Good Morning Delhi. For the first time, we have never quite done something like this, and that is to be on a simulcast. You're hearing me on air, and if you want to know what it's like in the studio, you can always get onto www.radio1.in/Delhi, and you can view this live broadcast right now. You can do that, and we have a purpose for doing that. And that is, so this is what we're going to be doing in this whole hour. If you haven't already been to the United States, you're probably in the process, getting there, or simply due for a visit or considering a trip. The question of how you're going to go about what may sometimes appear as a tedious or difficult process of applying for a United States visa will strike you. But it isn't monumental at all, as Cynthia Haley and Paul Swider of the U.S. Embassy will attest to. A brief introduction of our guests. Cynthia Haley is the Consul General at the U.S. Embassy here in Delhi, and she served most recently as the Director of the U.S. Passport Agency in El Paso, Texas, and before that has held a number of leadership positions in Latin America, Asia, and State Department headquarters. And Paul Swider is an American consular officer working at the embassy in New Delhi, where he's both interviewed visa applicants and has been involved in public outreach. And they're here to tell us all we need to know about the visa application process from tourist to business visa. Thank you for joining us on the show. Cynthia, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay. Can you say that again? Okay. Cynthia, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, good, great. So is your morning always this hectic?
Absolutely. It's
Okay,
what keeps
good.
it interesting.
Okay, great. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. So, we've been talking about, let's get started with this, because this simulcast is not just for your ears. This radio show is not just for your ears. It's also for your eyes, as I've been telling you. Let's start at the beginning, Cynthia. Business and tourist, it's a visa category. Is the process the same?
The process is a little different. For business categories, depending on the one you're speaking about, it may require a company in the U.S. petitioning for you.
Okay.
But the process here for us is the same, in that individuals contact our call center or go online, make an appointment, and they come in on the date of their appointment.
Okay, so here's a question. And how long before, my planned travel date should I be applying for a visa?
Well, it depends on your comfort zone. I would imagine if you want to not be stressed out for your trip, you can apply a couple of months in advance if you wish.
Okay.
Otherwise, you could apply as little as possibly a week before. We recommend that you do it a little earlier so they're not all stressed for your trip.
All right. Okay, great. So we're going to come back and talk some more with Cynthia Haley, Consul General at the U.S. Embassy here in New Delhi. And, of course, coming up right now, I've got Katie Tunstall. This one's called Black Horse and the Cherry Tree. Enjoy this one. It's 3 minutes past 9. We're coming back with more right here on Good Morning Delhi. Oh, okay. Okay, I guess you can, right? Hello, Cynthia?
Yes,
Okay, great. Okay, so I have with me Sumain. Hi, Sumain.
Hi.
You can say hi to Cynthia. Come closer to the microphone.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, Cynthia.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, so we've got two more listeners also who are going to be joining us. And also in Bombay, we've got Erica. Can you hear us? Okay. Erica? Hello?
Hello.
Okay. You can hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Good
great.
morning.
Wonderful. So you guys are going to be on air in 2 minutes or so, right?
In 2 minutes, yes, you have exactly 2.5.
Okay, great. All right, so let's get down to some of those queries that we may have about business and tourist visas, about the whole U.S. visa application. Sumain is a listener and he's joined us here. Sumain, would you like to throw a question? You had something that you wanted to ask. Yeah. Yeah, this one. You wanted to question them on this one. Yeah, go ahead.
I just received a US visa, but it's been accidentally damaged. Do I need to reapply?
Yes, you would need to reapply, at least to send in the passport again for us to be able to process the visa to fix it or to put a new one on so that you don't have any damage or problems at a port of entry.
And if the passport itself has been sort of damaged or lost, then what is the procedure for that?
Well, if the passport has been lost or damaged, you do need to, of course, replace it. Once your passport has been replaced, you would need to reapply for the visa.
And do I have to sort of inform the embassy that a passport with the visa has now been stolen or lost? It could
yes,
be
we
misused.
Would appreciate that. Yes, yes. That way we can ensure that no one uses your paperwork, your passport or visa, in a manner that may endanger your ability to travel in the future to the United States.
And if I haven't sort of kept a copy, I don't have a visa number or anything to sort of inform you, would you still be able to find it by my name? Or?
Yes, I believe so. We could just provide us your name and other information that would help us track it down.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess this is also a warranted question because we've got one that's come in from SMS when we were checking. Someone has sent in that I need to travel a few days after my interview. Can I take my passport with me at the end of the interview? So is that possible, Cynthia?
It is possible. It would simply delay us from actually issuing the visa to them because we need the passport in our possession to put the visa in the passport. But
okay.
That could be arranged at a later time if the person needed to travel immediately.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, so we seem to also be having... Erica, are you up for your link? Hello, can you hear me? I'm not getting Erica. Erica?
Well, in case you just joined us, that 1998 hit by Karen Ramirez there, Looking for Love, I think the only one that she had, it hit #1 in the U.S. And speaking of the United States, Specialized kicked off on Good Morning Mumbai. We are giving you the chance to know everything you must about tourist and business visas to the United States. In our exclusive on the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, we're joined by the American Consul General Cynthia Haley. This is an online and an online simulcast. The Consul General has served most recently as the director of the U.S. Passport Agency in El Paso and Texas, and before that has had a number of leadership positions in Latin America, Asia, and the State Department headquarters. Also joining us this morning is Paul Swider, an American consular officer working at the embassy in New Delhi, where he's both interviewed visa applicants and has been involved in public outreach. Well, before joining the U.S. State Department, Paul's background was in communications broadly, most recently at the St. Pete Times in Florida. I've got to say good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Paul. I have to ask you, before I kickstart our Q&A, to listeners who've just joined in, this is your chance to know everything you must about tourist and business visas to the U.S. So do stay locked on to 94.3 Radio 1, or you can catch the live streaming of this interaction on our website, which is radio1.in/mum. And if you have any queries, please forward them via phone call 669-43943 or SMS ONE space your query with your name to 53650, or you could tweet me, attach it to #GMMumbai and tweet that in. Well, I have to say this, over 660,000 B1 and B2 visitors visas were issued in India last year, and apparently it's up by about 20% this year. Has there been an overall simplification and fast-tracking of the whole visitor visa process?
We are always looking for ways to improve the speed with which we can provide service to our customers, and we see our visa applicants as our customers. It is important to us to encourage their travel to the U.S., both for understanding one another's our different countries and to see the similarities we have and how we can continue to evolve and improve our relationship. So for us, processing visas is a very important thing, and we always look for ways to improve it and make it better for people who come in, both for speed and for process.
Right. Well, visa agents, they're very popular here. Do they actually improve your chance of getting a U.S. visa?
I would say no, because if a person qualifies for the visa, they will qualify on their own. We don't really look at paperwork or other things that kind of complicate things. We use the interview for a reason. We really want to talk to the individual and see what their interests are and what their purpose in travel is, and we wish to issue to them.
Right. A case study, if someone's passport is going to expire soon and does contain a valid U.S. visa, does one need to actually get a new visa for a new passport?
No, you do not. As long as you carry both the old passport with the visa in it, it's a valid visa, and you carry the new passport, you should not need to obtain a new visa.
Right. Well, this one's for you, Paul. People somehow feel intimidated by the whole process and often want to be accompanied by friends or relatives for the interview with the U.S. consul. Why is that not permissible?
Well, it's really, for us, a space consideration. We don't have a lot of space in the section for people to congregate, and it's for flow so that we can allow people to be able to get through the section quickly. So that's the primary reason. To get into the consulate, to be going through the waiting room, and to get out, we want it to be as quick and seamless as possible for the customers, and that's why.
Okay. One of your tweets stated that the U.S. Consul General Mumbai interviews about 1,400 plus non-immigrant U.S. applicants a day. You honestly, have your work cut out for you. How can we be assured that everyone's visa receives, dedicated attention that it deserves?
We schedule the appointments based on the number of people we have available to interview at our windows. And that way we're able to determine whether or not we will be able to provide individual applicants the time necessary for them to provide us the information we need. That is our primary directive, is so that we get the proper information at that interview.
Okay. We're going to be back to get a lot more information on U.S. visas. It's your chance to know everything about tourist and business visas to the U.S. You can also catch the live streaming of this interaction on our website, which is radio1.in/mum. If you have any queries, please forward them to us via phone call. That's 66943 or SMS ONE space your query with your name to 53650, or tweet me. Attach your comments to #GM Mumbai and tweet that in. Well, let's get some music back on. The best mix in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. The coolest granddaddies of rock and roll. Here are the Rolling Stones with Harlem Shuffle.
All right, okay, great, thanks. That was super, Erica. Hello? All right, let's get down to some more questions. Cynthia, you're hearing me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, wonderful. We're going to be on air right here in Delhi in like a couple of minutes, but before that, we've got to get some questions out of the way. I think, let's talk about the B1, B2 visa that Sumain brought up. So if someone actually threw a question of, I received a B1, B2 visa from a previous employer, now if I've left that job, is it still valid for traveling with a new company, or will that visa be cancelled? What do you say?
Well, the B1, B2 visa is a business, it's a visitor for business or pleasure. If the category of visa remains the same, then yes, the individual could travel on the same visa.
Okay.
If, however, the person has a different kind of a category and their employer would know, then they would possibly need to apply for a different category visa. But as far as traveling for business, for one employer versus another, it's the same visa.
Okay, all right, great. So also, there's another question pertaining to the B1, B2. So someone is also throwing a question, will my B1, B2 visa be cancelled when I apply for an H1B?
It should not be cancelled. One can carry several categories of visas at the same time.
Okay, all right. Okay, I have with me Dipankar. Dipankar, say hi to Cynthia.
Hi,
from the
Cynthia.
U.S. Embassy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So, do you have a question for Cynthia this morning, Dipankar?
Well, actually, I do. All right. Cynthia, my question is, I did not turn in my I-94 when I left the United States. What should I do?
Get the people in.
I would recommend that you hold on to it because it's really the record that is given to the port of entry as you leave, and it lets them know that you have left.
All right.
If you have any problems in the future going in and out of the United States, you'd be able to show, for example, airline tickets showing the time you departed, but there's really no reason to worry about the I-94 once you have left.
Okay, great. Okay, that's good. And
so how long can I stay in United States?
I'm sure that's a question anybody would know.
We don't make that decision.
Oh.
We give you the visa that allows you to go to the port of entry and to apply to enter. The actual decision is made at the port of entry by the Customs and Border Protection or the DHS officials that are there at the airport. For example, for a visitor visa, it can range up to 6 months. For a work visa, it's generally for the duration you are working.
All right. Is there any criteria for the variation of the stay for different visas and or for different people?
It is for different visas and for the purpose of the travel.
All right.
Usually when you're entering the U.S., the immigration person will ask you why you're there, how long you plan to be. They may look at petitions, but they'll make the decision based on that.
All right.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to be on air in Delhi here in 1.5 minutes. I guess we can also throw a couple more questions. You know, I've been thinking about this, Cynthia. Infosys, it's been in the news. Infosys has had to pay the largest settlement ever in an immigration case, $34 million. That's a lot of money. And this pertains to the cap on the H-1B visas. Is there one? Has it increased, decreased in the last couple of years? How does that go? This is just for our own, you know.
Increased or decreased?
Yeah, the cap on H-1B visas.
It has not, well, it's increased significantly over different pieces of legislation that have passed. And the purpose of it, of course, is because U.S. businesses demand the additional workers, that they don't have enough workers for those particular tasks in the United States.
Okay.
As far as whether it will increase or not right now, the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Bill is still sort of hanging out there, and I can't foretell the future.
Right. Yeah, it's quite it's quite contentious because there are a lot of different things that have come in, right? A lot of debate on this one. All right,
Correct.
We're going to go on air in a bit. Hang on a second, Cynthia. We're going to be on air in Delhi. Hang on, guys. I'm in quiet in the room. Hang on. Don McLean, that was American Pie. All right, I could do with some. It is 18 minutes past 9. Speaking of American Pie, what we're doing right here on Good Morning Delhi is quite unusual. So if you are listening to this radio show this time, you can also see what's happening on this radio show. All you have to do is get onto www.radio1.in, go to Delhi, Radio1/Delhi, click on the live stream, and you can view this broadcast happening right here on Good Morning Delhi. Isn't that cool? And joining me on the show, I've also got Cynthia Haley. She's the Consul General at the U.S. Embassy right here in Delhi. She served most recently as the director of the U.S. Passport Agency in El Paso, Texas, and before that has held a number of leadership positions in Latin America, Asia, and State Department headquarters. I want to thank you for joining me, Cynthia, once again.
Thank you for having me here.
All right. You know, a while back we were talking about the H-1B visa. So if someone were to actually come up with the question of saying that, whether his B1, B2 visa would be cancelled when he applied for an H-1B, would that happen?
No, it should not happen. And that's primarily because people can travel for multiple reasons to the United States over multiple years. The visitor visa, which is the B1, B2 category, is both for visitors for business and visitors for pleasure.
Okay.
And that visa is normally good for up to 10 years for multiple entries. The work visas have more specific legislative requirement, and they will be good for whatever the duration of possibly the employment, or up to, I believe, 3 or 4 years. When one is entering the United States, it is at the port of entry, at the airport or wherever they're entering, where the immigration officials will look at their information, talk to them, and determine what status they should be entering under.
Okay.
And since our purpose is to get people in to do business, and we encourage visitors as well, they generally will do the best they can to get the person in there.
Okay, here's a question. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, okay, I want to travel, but do I need to go through an agent? Will that be helpful, or can I just do this process on my own? What do you think?
You know, it's really up to the applicant. We encourage people to do it on their own because it's a very simple process.
Sure.
As long as they have the documents they need, which is the passport, passport photo. They fill out the form online. That's really important. If the information they provide is correct, then the interview itself should go pretty well.
Okay, and I know this one's a prickly one, and there could be several reasons for this, but any reason why, you know, a regular person could be rejected, you know, outside those other really extreme conditions?
Oh, well, there are a number of reasons a person could be rejected. If they have a criminal background,
yeah,
we would probably be more careful about letting them travel to the United States.
Okay, yeah.
If people have
So outside those extreme situations, I mean, you know, criminal background and other...
Yes.
Anything else that, you know, one needs to look out for? Proper documentation, for example?
Well, we're not really, other than the passport, we don't really encourage a whole lot of paperwork being brought in because, as you have talked about different visa agents or people may be concerned about whether they qualify, it has been known where people will create documents.
All right.
For us, it's really more important to talk to the individual at the interview.
Right.
If they understand why they're traveling and they can express themselves and articulate their purpose of travel, that's what we look for.
All right, okay. Cynthia Haley, Consul General at the U.S. Embassy right here in New Delhi, joining me on the show to talk about how you can get your business and business visas and tourist visas application done smoothly. I've got Santana coming up right now with the Game of Love. Don't forget to get onto www.radio1/Delhi. Click on the live stream. You can not just hear me, people. You can see me. Okay, got that. All right, Erica? Erica, can you hear me? All right. Okay, let's get on with these questions that we've been asking. So if someone threw your question, Cynthia, you know, my passport expires within the next year, but I want to apply for a U.S. visa, what should I do?
Then apply. We're looking forward to seeing them.
Okay, let's just go right.
Can be valid for up to the day of travel. For their own convenience, they certainly want to have a passport that's long enough that they won't have to carry two passports should they get the visa.
Okay.
But we just require them to have a valid passport at the time of application and issuance, and the issuance is usually within a day or two of application. So that should be all that's required.
Okay. And
I want to go on air.
Okay, you're going on air?
But can I talk to them right now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, hey.
Sorry.
Okay, Erica, keep your headphones on because then you can also communicate with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my live link's coming up in I think in about 5 minutes. Yeah, in about 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah, and I could hear your audio on my on my console. I could hear it. So when I'm on, maybe you need to either bring your fader down.
Okay.
For some reason, it's going on the air as well. So
okay, so your second link in 5 minutes. Okay, so we have time for more conversation. Is there something else you'd like to ask? Yeah, right. Please go ahead.
Well, I'm going to sort of shoot a couple of FAQs here. If one case study is if my wife and I just had a baby, do babies need appointments to come and and apply for a visa as well?
No, we do not require the babies to come in for appointments. When the parents come in, they can just bring in a passport of the child, and we can process it that way. No problem.
Right. And if your child needs a visa as well, do the parents have to attend the visa interview with the child?
We don't require children to come in at all, actually.
Okay.
Parents can just bring in their passports.
Okay.
If for some reason we would need to see the child, we could discuss it at the time of the interview, but we don't require it initially.
All right. Thanks so much for that. I'll wait for my link to come in about 5 minutes. Meanwhile, we have our Radio 1 listeners standing by. So as soon as we're ready for our link, she's going to pop a question.
She can actually throw a question right now if that's
Okay.
if she has one.
Do you have another query regarding your H-1B visa that we spoke about?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Cynthia, here's a question.
Apply for a new visa.
A lot of people get really nerve-wracked about the whole interview
My first one is
process,
cancelled.
right?
Maybe how much
So,
time would it require for me to get
Is
another
she
work
throwing a
visa?
question?
You want to know that?
Yeah. In case
Okay.
this is cancelled,
Okay.
if I'm not valid.
Okay,
to
so
use
you
this
can,
visa.
yeah. Okay.
I can hear her audio really loud. Okay. Hang on a second. Cynthia, I'm going back to that question. Sorry. So, can people accompany you for an interview? Or do you have to go solo in there?
Well, it depends on who we're talking about. Most able-bodied individuals are expected to come in on their own.
Okay.
If you have someone who is elderly or infirm and they need some assistance, we understand that, and that
Okay.
normally can, a family member can go in with them to help them.
So, do you have to put do you have to put an application for that?
No. Just the individual applying has to be the person with the appointment. If there's another individual that needs to help them for whatever issue that applicant may have, that person is able to go in.
Okay. And what if I've made an appointment and for some reason I have to reschedule? Is that going to be difficult?
That's not a problem. You just call the call center or go online and change the appointment time.
Okay, great. All right. A lot of people, I'm sure, when they get rejected, that must be really quite, people tend to take that rather personally, but how soon can a person actually go back and try again?
There's no time to wait.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would recommend people not just come in and out like a rotating door because the application is an expensive process for many people.
Sure.
And we would not want anyone just coming in and constantly spending money that may possibly be needless. We would prefer that people come in, be ready, most importantly, prepared to articulate their situation. If they are not issued, they are told why.
Okay, great.
And
That's what
if
I'm
they
actually
leave and they think later, well, wait a minute, I could possibly overcome that problem, then they are welcome to reapply.
Okay, great. So that's wonderful. That reason for rejection or refusal is shared with them, and they can they can correct that, right? The next time.
Okay. Can I just button? Sorry, we're on in 20 seconds.
Yeah,
okay?
please go for it.
Right.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, a hit maker from the 70s and the 80s, Eric Carmen there with that monster hit Hungry Eyes, featured in the soundtrack of Dirty Dancing from 1987. And it's very special on Good Morning Mumbai with our exclusive on-air and online simulcast with American Consul General Cynthia Haley of the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, together with Paul Swider, an American consular officer working at the embassy in New Delhi. We're talking visa applications, both tourist and business visas to the U.S., and catching the live streaming of this interaction is possible at radio1.in/mum. That's radio1.in/mum. We are giving Radio 1 listeners a chance to have their queries answered one-on-one, so call us on 66943 or SMS ONE space your query with your name to 53650, or feel free to tweet me. Attach it to hashtag GM Mumbai and tweet that in. We also have a Radio 1 listener in our studio with us, joining us. Hi, Shampi.
Hi, a very good morning.
So, Shampi, Shampi has a question for you.
Hi, I wanted to know if I have a B1, B2 visa from a previous employer, but I left that job. Can I use the same visa for a new job, or will it be cancelled?
The B1, B2 visa should be fine for any employer so long as that's the proper category for that employment. And your employer should be able to tell you whether it's a B1 visa or if you need some kind of an other work visa category.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Shampi?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the case of one applying for an H-1B visa, will your current B-1, B-2 visa be cancelled?
No, the current B-1, B-2 visa which should not be canceled. One can hold multiple visa categories or types of visas at the same time. The purpose or the only real issue is what they are allowed to enter the U.S. in when they get to the port of entry, like the airport in the U.S., and immigration will help them make that determination.
Right then. The capping of H-1B visas have become like a contentious topic for the U.S. Senate. But what is the current annual cap is what we want to know on H-1B visas.
Do you have no, Paul?
I think the cap as of right now is still $65,000 for the typical H-1B work visa. There are some other variations on that category. And certainly with comprehensive immigration reform being discussed in Congress right now, that could change. But at this point, we have no idea where that number is going to go. That's an ongoing process and far from concluded.
All right, thanks for that, Paul. We have a tweet that's come in from Tarini Desai, and she says, if you have recently married and have a new passport issue with a change in surname, is your old visa still valid?
Yes, the old visa is still valid. In fact, you don't need to do anything with our visa when it comes to marriage. What would be as helpful is for the woman who married to simply bring with her a copy of her marriage certificate. It should be translated in English, of course, so that when one goes into the United States, if the immigration officials have any questions, she would be able to show the name change, the legal names change.
Right. This one's for you, Paul. The general feeling is that young unmarried professionals are subjected to a lot more scrutiny and get turned down a lot more than older or married applicants. Your comments to that?
That's not been my experience. I've been here for about a year and a half. I've done more than 20,000 interviews, and I've issued lots of visas to young professionals. Anybody who's qualified under our law is eligible to get a visa, and we're happy to issue to them to go as tourists or to go on business trips.
All right. We're going to be back to talk some more on all your U.S. Visa queries with American Consul General Cynthia Haley of the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, and also with Paul Swider, American Consular Officer. You can catch the live streaming of this interaction on our website, radio1.in/mum, and also to take part, you can tweet your questions into us and your comments to #GMMumbai, or send us an SMS, type ONE space your query to 53650, or simply call me, 66943-943. Well, let's perk up your Monday morning right into work with some fresh sounds by Gina G next.
All right. Okay, great. That was great. Thanks a lot, guys. We're going to go through some more questions, and Cynthia, we're going to be up in Delhi here on air in 5 minutes or so. So until then, I guess we could throw a couple more queries in there. So you mentioned a while back that you'd really prefer applicants just going it on their own, getting onto the internet and logging on. They don't need any outside intervention, correct?
Correct.
So let's get down to, a question of renewals. So if someone's visa has expired, how does that go? Do they have to go through the entire process again?
Now, this is for like a visitor, a B1, B2 visa. Yes, it would be the entire process where they would go online or through our call center to make an appointment and come in. Clearly, if someone had a visa previously, they traveled and did everything properly, I don't foresee any reason why there would be a problem with issuing another visa.
Okay.
But also, if their visa's only expired recently, we do have a program to allow them to renew that without an interview. So they would have to go through the application process, but at that point they would then just submit to us their passport and application, and we would basically do a paper review of that. And again, as Cynthia said, if they've traveled well, if they've used their other visa correctly, and everything else still lines up, we could issue the visa without ever having to call them in for an interview.
Okay. Is there a time that one's looking at, from the time your visa expires and you apply again?
Well, typically for the interview waiver, if it's expired within the last year, that's the easiest type of case. Okay. In some cases, if it's expired within the last 4 years, we can also still allow that. But that's all outlined in great detail on our website, ustraveldocs.com. Anybody can go there and look through questions like this and see fairly detailed answers as to how they would follow the procedure.
Mm-hmm.
I did go to the website. I have to say, you guys have done a great job. I mean, everything's pretty much there. So if anyone's looking for anything, I guess it's all right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be on air right here in Delhi in a bit. And Cynthia, is there something you'd like to bring up that that has been something that people somehow don't get and it keeps coming up?
The biggest thing I'd like to get out to the public is, the biggest message is that it's really a much easier process than they think. There are a lot of people who have heard stories from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or more. People who have visas now talk about how onerous or intimidating the process was back when they got it years ago. And the process has changed significantly. Not only are we able to see more people efficiently, but with all of our call center, with the appointment system, it allows us the time to spend more getting the information that we need to make the best decision. And that's only to the advantage of people here in India, because the economy here is doing so well that many people are able to travel more, and our relationship is such that we would like them to travel to the United States.
Okay. I'm going to want you to repeat that for our Delhi audience over here on air. So you can go ahead and reassure them once again. We're going to be on air in under a minute, Cynthia, so just hang on a second. Paul, what about you? Is this something that I can have you jump in with?
Sure. I mean, I bring some experience here in Delhi doing a lot of interviews, and I also go out in the community and talk to a lot of people who want to go on student visas, want to go on tourist visas, and they are intimidated by the interview, and it's really not hard.
Yeah, so when I'm going on air, which is under 30 seconds now, I'm going to want you to jump in and talk about your own experiences from the field, all right? Hang on a second, guys. We're going to be on in a bit. Hang on.
Great, thank you.
Macklemore, Ryan Lewis with Thrift Shop. Yes, winter shopping can get a bit expensive. If we had some decent secondhand stores, it might help the pocket. It's 9:37. How you doing? Thank you for joining me on the show. And like I was telling you a while back, it's a bit of a treat for the eyes this morning, because you ordinarily just get to listen to Good Morning Delhi. Today you can view Good Morning Delhi because we're on radio1.in/Delhi. If you get onto radio1.in/Delhi, click on the live stream, you'll be able to see this broadcast right here in the Radio 1 studios on the internet. And we're doing this because we're taking on some of those prickly questions that you may have about getting a business or a tourist visa for the United States. I have Cynthia Haley. She's the Consul General at the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi right here with me on the show this morning. Also Paul Swider, an American consular officer working at the embassy here, and he's interviewed visa applicants and has been involved in public outreach. And before joining the U.S. State Department, Paul's background was in communications broadly, most recently at the St. Pete Times in Florida. Paul, this question is for you because you're out in the field, you're interviewing applicants, and you have done that. What would you like to tell anyone interested in getting a visa for the United States?
They should just come in when it's time for the interview and relax. We're just going to have a conversation with them. It's not a quiz. It's not a test. We're not trying to trick or trap anyone. We're just going to ask them a handful of very simple questions. If they want to go study, if they want to go as a tourist, if they need to go on a business trip. We don't need to know a great deal in that interview. We've got their application. So we're going to ask them a few simple questions, and the better that they can relax and answer us honestly, the better the interview is going to go for everyone, because it's really not a hard process. It's not hard to qualify for a visa. When people get nervous or when they think they need to know a magical answer, that's when things can go wrong.
Well, there seems to be this perception that, if you're younger, you're single, it'll be harder to get a visa for the United States. Is that so? Cynthia, you want to answer this for me?
Sure. The answer is no, that's not the case. There are no demographic groups of people that will or won't get visas or who are better or worse at getting the visas. Everyone is seen as an individual. We have a lot of young professionals traveling. We have issued to many students, and it's a growing group of individuals. So no, we don't have any particular groups that have more problems than others.
All right, okay. All right, that was Cynthia Haley, Consul General at the U.S. Embassy right here in Delhi. We're taking on those questions that you may have about how you apply for your business or tourist visa for the United States. And you can view this broadcast, not just hear it, radio1.in/Delhi. Click on the live stream and get it right there. You can also send in your questions, SMS ONE, leave a space, put your name, type in your query for the Consul General and send it to 53650. Alternatively, get onto Facebook, RJ space CHRIS Chris, and send in your query. Of course, we're getting down to some great music. Keith Urban, Miranda Lambert, We Were Us. All right, okay, we're done with that. Okay. All right, I have with me Darius. Darius, how do you pronounce your name?
See, Darius is good.
Darius is good.
Darius majorly here in
Okay.
Delhi. Yeah.
Okay, say hi to Cynthia. She's with the U.S. Embassy.
Hi, Cynthia. Good morning.
Hi, Darius. How are you this morning?
Good as well.
Okay, so do you have a query, Darius? Or, yeah. So, hang on a second.
Just quickly, Chris, 9:41 is when I'm on.
9:40.
Sorry, 9:44. 9:44.
Okay, so we have time
Okay.
for one question.
Sure.
So,
In about 2 minutes, we'll call him.
yeah. Go ahead, Darius, ask.
So, Cynthia, here's a question for you. Can I reapply if I was refused a visa under 214B?
Okay. Yes, you can. 214B is basically a section of our law that says that a person has to convince us that they are going for the purpose they're saying and that they're going for a temporary visit. And a temporary visit can be a day, a week, a month. It could be 6 months. It depends on what their reason is for traveling. If an individual comes in and applies and for whatever reason doesn't convince an officer that their purpose is what we understand it should be, they can reapply. A lot of times this happens when people who feel intimidated or overly concerned about what they need to say make mistakes during the interview. They don't just realize we're people, they're people. We're just talking to find out what we can about their circumstances so that we can help them. We want to be able to issue visas. We want people to travel. And so on the rare occasion where we can't provide that visa, a person can walk away and say, well, wait a minute, I should have told them about this, or I should have remembered that this was something important. Mm-hmm. Yes, they can reapply. I will add one little comment, though. Mm-hmm. I don't recommend people do it unless they really think they have what they need to get the visa, because it's an expensive process, and we don't want to have people coming and paying for the process if we don't think there's really a reason for them to do that.
Right. Okay. All right. You can also, I guess, Darius, get into,
what should I do if, in case my visa was lost or stolen?
Well, don't cry. There are ways we can handle the situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I can imagine any person who's lost the visa. I'm sorry, I would panic.
Well, first, let us know. Call the call center. Let us know that the visa or passport was stolen. One, we don't want anyone else using it except you, and it helps ensure the integrity not only of our visa but of the Indian passport. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is you would do the same process you did originally. You'd apply for it and come in, and assuming everything was okay, we should be able to issue to you.
So just sorry to intercede. Here, if in case the visa was already issued, why? Mm-hmm. It's a question of just a reissue. Why would they need to go through the entire process?
Yeah,
of
I was actually
reapplying?
coming to that.
Well, Paul, do you have any comments on that?
Well, we have to go through our whole process again. That's what it really comes down to. So when the fee we charge is not a fee, a payment for the visa, it's a payment for us to process the entire application. And we have to do that no matter what the circumstances. So we're just covering our costs, really.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, that answers that question. I'll hang on to that visa real good. Okay, I think Bombay is coming up with your link. Erica, how are we doing? Okay. I think Erica's up. All right, guys.
Well, a bit of 90s Britpop there with Blur, a band that kickstarted the indie guitar pop culture in the UK. That was their 1994 hit, the title track of their album Park Life. And it's a special on Good Morning Mumbai with our exclusive on-air and online simulcast with American Consul General Cynthia Haley of the US Embassy in New Delhi. For those who just joining the conversation, American Consul General Cynthia Haley has served most recently as the director of the US Passport Agency in El Paso, Texas. And before that, has had a number of leadership positions. She's also joined by Paul Swider, the American consular officer working at the embassy in New Delhi, where he's both interviewed visa applicants and has been involved in public outreach. We are talking visa applications, both tourist and business visas to the US, and you can catch the live streaming of this interaction on our website, which is radio1.in/mum. We're also giving Radio 1 listeners a chance to have their queries answered one-on-one, so you can call us on 66943 or SMS ONE space your query to 53650, or you could tweet me. Attach it to hashtag GM Mumbai and tweet your questions in. Well, our next question to you this morning is actually an SMS that's just come through. And give me a minute, I'll just try and track that down. Yes, it's from Jay Daga, and he says, I've got my H-1B visa approved in 2007. However, due to mother's health concern, I didn't travel for years, and now I'm planning to do so. Is that visa still valid?
The visa is valid as long as it states on the actual visa. The fact that the person didn't travel earlier shouldn't have any bearing on that. I don't know. Do you have any other comments you can make on that?
Well, an H-1B is tied to a petition which originates with an employer in the U.S. So if the visa is still valid, when the person travels to the U.S. and they go to the airport and they go through the immigration process there, they're going to get asked why they haven't used that in 6 years. Doesn't mean that it isn't legitimate, doesn't mean they won't be able to use it to travel, but they should expect that kind of question, and they should be expected to be able to answer that with some level of detail, because it's unusual someone would offer you a job, go through the process to get you that visa, and then not have you come work for 6 years.
All right. Okay. Well, Jay Dag, I hope that answered your query. We have a next one, Samiti, with mobile number ending 49719. She SMSs in to say, if I have lost my old passport with a valid U.S. visa and now have a new passport, do I need a fresh U.S. visa? I think you answered that question earlier, but can you please repeat that for the sake of Samiti?
Sure. Yes, the person would need to reapply for the visa. It says, Paul said earlier, it has to do with our process and fees that we have. But it also has to do with the fact that it is a new visa application. So it would be the same process they had gone through the first time.
Right. Well, if one's passport is going to expire within the next year, but one has to apply for a U.S. visa, what should one do?
Your passport's going to expire. As long as the passport is going to be valid at the time of travel, we usually ask for people to have them valid for about 6 months from the date of interview, but as long as it's valid at the time of their travel, that's adequate for us. But if they come in and it's expired before they go to travel, they won't be allowed to travel because they will not have a valid passport. If they've then gotten another passport, have an old passport with a valid visa and a new passport, they can travel with both of those, but not a strictly an expired passport, even if the visa is still valid.
All right. And in case the U.S. visa has been accidentally damaged, does one need to reapply for it?
Yes, absolutely. Unless the damage was in some way our fault, then the individual would have to apply for a new visa, and it shouldn't be a very difficult process to issue that, but it is the traveler's responsibility to keep that intact.
All right. And if there's been a mistake with the visa, if it's printed incorrectly, for example, what does one do then?
Well, again, if it's our mistake, The traveler should just contact our offices, call our call center, get in touch with us on ustraveldocs.com, and we'll fix that mistake. If there's a mistake that we've made, that's clearly not the applicant's fault.
Right.
I will add, though, that it is important for the applicants to be careful how they fill out the form online, because if the mistake is theirs, then we would charge them the fee again.
Okay. All right. So don't make mistakes. That's for starters. on a tourist visa, I have to ask you, what's the general duration of stay permitted? You know, once having a really great time in the U.S., can visa extensions be applied for and gotten easily?
The extension of stay normally is up to 6 months. That doesn't necessarily mean someone needs to hang out in the U.S. up to 6 months, but that's the amount of time they're given if they should need it.
Right.
And if they need to stay longer than the stay they're given, then they can go to their local Customs and Immigration Services office within the United States, and the website of USCIS would have all the places they need to go, and they could get an extension or apply for an extension there.
Okay. We're going to be back to talk some more on all your U.S. visa queries with American Consul General Cynthia Haley of the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi and Paul Swider, American Consular Officer. You can catch the live streaming, like I said, on our website, radio1.in/mum. You can tweet your questions to #GMMumbai or send us an SMS. Type ONE space your query to 53650. This is 94.3 Radio 1.
That one has slipped quite quickly into being an anthem rather than just a rock song. That was Guns N' Roses with Sweet Child of Mine. It's 9:52, and we're doing something quite unique this morning on Good Morning Delhi. That is, you will be able to not just hear this broadcast, you can also view this broadcast. Get onto www.radio1.in/Delhi, click on the live stream, and you can see exactly what Chris is up to this morning, and she is chatting with Cynthia Haley. She's the Consul General at the U.S. Embassy here in New Delhi. Also joining us is Paul Swider, American Consular Officer working at the Embassy here in New Delhi, where he's both interviewed visa applicants and has been involved in public outreach. Good morning, guys. Thanks for joining me, and we're just in the last bit of this show, actually, and this interview. I'm going to come to you now, Cynthia. Is this something that you'd like to tell the applying public about the whole process, and would you like to reassure them?
Yes. I guess the first thing I'd like to say is that it should not be the intimidating process many people think it is. There's a lot of stories out there. There's a lot of rumors. There are a lot of this is what happened to me 10 years ago kind of things. And the bottom line is the process is much different today than it was before. We welcome applicants. We want people to come in and apply. We want people to travel to the United States.
Right.
We want them to go for visit Disney World or family. We want them to go to school. We want them to find jobs that will both help them and help the United States. Any kind of person-to-person interaction that we have between the United States and India is a good thing for its peoples, and so we welcome that. Anyway, to get back to your real question about the application process itself, it is a process that is very simple. It should not be intimidating. We do ask people to just relax, come in, be prepared to respond about their reasons for travel, and the rest should operate pretty well for them.
I'm going to get to a query that's come in from Facebook. Pyle sends me a message. She says that I'm an unmarried female student going to study in the United States. Can my father or my brother receive a student visa to accompany me?
I don't know. The student visas are only good for the student, him or herself, and for a spouse and minor children.
Okay.
However, in a case like this, is it possible that the brother would want to go to school as well? You could certainly have two siblings going to school, and that would allow both of them to have student visas.
What if a dad wants to do a course?
Assuming they don't want to go to school, if just the student herself wants to go, a parent or a brother could go as a visitor, but they would need to be traveling back to India or leaving the U.S. certain periods of time or extending their stay while they're there.
Okay, got that. All right, okay, great. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show this morning, Cynthia. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And Paul, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And I guess that's pretty much it from Good Morning Delhi as far as this goes. But you can continue viewing viewing this particular broadcast, www.radio1.in/Delhi. It's 9:55. We're getting into more great music right here. I've got Boston with More Than a Feeling. Love that song. Right here on Good Morning Delhi. All the action and the conversation and the music.
All right, then. I'm going to take over from here. Cynthia, are you with me? And Paul?
Yes.
Have you done it, Aditya?
Done.
Okay. We have a caller coming up in about 2.5 minutes or so. Basically, he has a query, and I'll let him pose the question to you. We're just trying to get him on the line.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to have a couple more questions, yes.
This caller will go on air?
Yes, on air.
On air?
Yes, the caller will go on air. So I have a couple of questions, and then we'll do a quick wrap-up.
Okay.
Okay, just give me a minute or so, and we should be sorted.
All right, thank you.
Is that Aditya? Aditya? Hello? I can't hear him. Just a minute, ma'am. Hello? Quick, 9967.
3726.
How long have you been in India, Cynthia?
Since August.
Oh, okay. How's it going?
So far, so good. It's a beautiful country, rich culture.
So, yeah. Good, great.
Well,
okay. And you're here for Christmas?
Hello?
Yes, I am. My family and I.
Aditya?
Okay, great.
The settings here need to be done?
Are you able to hear?
I can hear myself, but not Aditya.
Aditya, call lag raha hai.
Paul, we bumped into each other, remember?
What are you guys doing? Hurry up.
You came to our studio. Gosh, I'm better than this than you. Radio 1? You came in.
Was that several months ago?
Zeenat, what was her name?
That's right. But I wasn't on the air with you guys. That's why.
No, you weren't on air, but we met.
I do recall, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty good with names and faces, huh?
Not so much the names, but the faces, I won't forget them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aditya, sorry about this. Are you online with us? Okay, just give me about 40 seconds and we'll go live on air, okay? Just hold, please. Okay, thank you. Live settings. Okay, don't speak till I bring you on, okay, Aditya? Okay, thank you. Well, Nashville vocal trio that mixes country with a twist of 60s soul and 70s pop. Their Lady Antebellum made you now. This is Good Morning Mumbai. You're with me, Erica, and I'm sitting in for Rishi K. It's a very special on Good Morning Mumbai with our exclusive on-air and online simulcast with American Consul General Cynthia Haley of the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, together with Paul Swider, American Consular Officer. We're talking visa applications, both tourist and business visas to the U.S. You can catch the live streaming of this interaction on radio1.in/mum, and we're also giving you a chance to have your queries answered. In fact, we do have a Radio 1 listener online. Let's bring him on. Aditya? Good morning, Aditya. Let's hear your question.
Okay.
Right. Cynthia, did you get that question?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not hearing the question here.
You're not hearing the question. Essentially, I'll have to repeat that. Aditya said that his visa was rejected, correct, Aditya? When you were just a student, and one of the reasons was that he didn't he was asked how much do you earn. He says students in India don't really earn much. So he wants to know, since he was rejected that the first time, will his application processes be affected the second time around? Okay.
It's hard to answer. I mean, how long ago did he apply? Because I have to admit, today, that's not so much of a concern to us. His previous refusal shouldn't really affect any application he makes today, because we look at people and what their circumstances are at the moment of the application. So I would certainly recommend that the individual, if they wish to travel to the U.S. for business or pleasure, that they come on in.
He applied in 2002, he says, and he also had a sponsorship. So he was a bit curious as to why it was rejected and how it's going to affect his future application processes.
Well, I can't speak to what happened 11 years ago,
right.
But I can tell you that now. Again, it depends on his circumstances today. That our rate of being able to issue to people has increased commensurate with the ability of Indians to travel internationals. So we are looking forward to him coming in.
Right. Did that answer your query, Aditya? Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Have a great day. And do try again. Thanks so much. Absolutely, he says. One final question before we wrap things up. Here's a query. I'm an unmarried female student going to study in the U.S. Can my father or my brother receive a visa to accompany me? Is the query.
Do you want to do this one?
Sure. Well, a father or mother can't get an actual student visa to go with a student to the U.S., but many times students come in and apply for student visas. We issue them their student visa, and then their mother and father come and say, I would like to take my child to the U.S. I'm going to take them there. I'm going to help them move in. I'm going to spend a few weeks with them to make sure that they're settled because I want to be comfortable. I want to be assured that they're in a good place. But they can't stay there for the duration of the student's studies. There's no dependent visa for parents, although there is for spouses and children of students.
Right. Okay. Oh, so I guess it's a case-by-case process then. I've got to thank you both for being part of our exclusive on-air and online simulcast. American Consul General Cynthia Haley of the U.S. Embassy, thank you so much this morning.
Thank you for having us on.
And Paul Swider, you as well, American Consular Officer. Many queries answered, many of course remain, I'm sure, but time has run out. I'm going to leave you with Mumbai's coordinates to pursue those queries. The U.S. Consul General in Mumbai, that's C49G block, the BKC, that's the Bandra Kurla Complex, Bandra East, Mumbai 51. Phone numbers there are 2672-4000. That's 2672-4000, and the website there is mumbai.usconsulate.gov. I've got to sign out this special hour with Rod Stewart adding positive vibe to our day, I should say. Yes, she makes me happy. This is 94.3 Radio 1. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Breathe, everybody. All right. Sorry about that, but some questions may have been repetitive, but the audiences are very different, so.
Thank you for allowing us to come on.
Thank you so much for being with us at this early hour. And thanks, guys. It's been fun. We should do this again sometime. Paul, Cynthia, Merry Christmas. Erica, are you there? Erica's gone again. All right. But, guys, really, it's been so much fun. And, yeah, all the very best. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Just click the X.
Just me.